Can you finish that sentence?
We're back. Yeah. I want the people. I want to be involved in this community and growing up and seeing kids come here and say, yeah, I want to be a cop. I want to come back and I want to serve my community. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I have going for me, I think, in making that successful, is I'm young enough to invest in that time in somebody.
Yes.
Like in a long term. Hey, this kid's you can't be 20. You can't be a cop until you're 21. This kid's a sophomore in high school, but he wants to be a cop. Mm-hmm. How do we foster that in him?
Yep.
And don't, why would you want to do that? Don't foster that and make that a positive thing. That it's not an easy job, and some days it downright sucks. Mm-hmm. But at the end, it's really rewarding when you are serving your community and helping people. So how do we foster that? And I think one of the advantages that I have at this age is I am young enough that I can make that more of a long-term investment in people to provide that. And I think we've had some that come in. I'm not saying everybody that's come into this county is bad. That's definitely not the case. Mm-hmm. But we've had some that were not. They just didn't fit. They weren't invested in the community. They came and they did their job, and they didn't necessarily do it bad. I'm not saying that, but they just weren't part of the community. They didn't want to make that long-term investment. If they were in St. Joe or they were somewhere else.
Yeah, everybody in this area goes through that. Whenever you bring outside help, I've kind of noticed. You can get good talented people, but they're rarely looking to stay here.
Yeah. And so I think creating an internal. And I'm not unofficial, really. I mean, it's not really like going to be a department, but a recruiting program as well that we can invest in, and we do that right now. I mean, I have one of the best things that we get to do with ACDC. I do. It's called Careers on Wheels. I don't know if you've heard of that.
Sort of, kind of, yeah.
So they go to the park and they're talking to these kids about jobs that they can have, but instead of a regular career fair, it's called Careers on Wheels. These are jobs that happen in a car, and so we're there like showing the truck off, or this is what's in it, this is what I do, and it kind of that same. And then we do job shadowing days. There was this one time, this is a funny story, it's not really, but there was a kid there that didn't think that an F-150 is a good police car. Uh-huh. And he thought I needed a Charger. And I was trying to explain to him, I'm like, well, the places that I go in the county.
Yeah. The old Charger's not going to clear, man.
There's zero benefit. But he wasn't having any of it. But the funny thing was, later that day, there was a car accident that was down by a lake. And a trooper got stuck down there.
In the F-150? Or no,
the
Charger.
Yeah, I hooked on and I was pulling them out. And I'm like, where's that kid at?
I need to get a reel up on Facebook.
But, engaging with kids in that, and the job shadow thing we also do. We just did that last week. I had a couple kids, last week I had a couple kids riding with me. And just, this is what we do. This is why we're different than the highway patrol, and this is why we're different than the Department of Conservation. This is why we're different than the city police. I mean, every one of them is a cop. So on paper, you might go, they're the same thing, but they're really not. Yeah. Working in a county is completely different. And
everybody has different responsibilities at their corresponding levels of law enforcement.
And the other thing that I measure on, and this is a tough one. So let me give you an example of when I worked at Northwest one night. I parked in front of the Teak House, like right across the street in that parking lot.
Oh yeah.
There was a party going on. I just parked there, and I sat there for hours. I didn't do anything. I just sat there, and one of the other guys, like early in the morning, like 5, 6 o'clock, says, if you sit over there, when they can't see you, and then you can pull them over when they leave, and you can arrest somebody for DWI. How many DWIs did I prevent by sitting there?
Yeah, right. Yeah. A lot of people wouldn't even get in the vehicle.
Yeah. Nobody left. Nobody left. They just stayed there.
Yep.
Well, which is better?
Right.
Getting one like 3 people leave. Or
I'll tell you what's better, Devin's bringing the revenue in.
Well, right. So on paper that night, what does it look like I did?
Yeah,
nothing.
Yeah.
And the person that got the DWI, they worked. You didn't work.
Right.
And so, and that's the nice thing about a county versus a place that's keeping track of numbers and
right.
You can be positive and have a positive impact and not have to, I'm not worried about numbers if you're doing something. Like if you're, and it's just like you can't quantify the impact that a school resource officer has meeting kids. You can't quantify just being visible and being seen. You may stop 20 crimes just by being there instead of hiding in the dark and waiting for them.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, because what's the inverse of that? If you're hiding in the dark and you're actually allowing basically what in my industry we refer to as a near miss to take place.
Yeah.
Like you're also going to allow something bad to happen.
Yeah,
potentially.
that was a question in the academy. Some guy and some kid answered it wrong. I'm sorry, he did, because he said, "Okay, you're at a gas station. You see a guy inside the gas station. He's clearly intoxicated, and he's buying something, and he's coming out. What are you gonna do?" And that kid said, "Let him get in the car, and then I'm gonna stop him and arrest him." And it's like, no, because you just let him get in the car.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stop him before anything happens.
What if you don't get him stopped?
Yeah,
you know?
We're gonna stop him before anything happens and get somebody help, get somebody there. We're gonna get this guy home before anything else happens. We're not letting him get in the car.
Yeah.
But if your mindset is all about, I gotta get numbers, or I gotta get, that's not where I'm at. I want to be about public service, about public safety, and it's tough. We're in a tough environment in a rural community because, like I said, you've got that many towns and that many square miles and not a lot of bodies. I'm not going to make a political promise that, rural theft is going to go down under my watch because, I mean, 5 people patrolling that many square miles, it's going to be hard to be in the right place at the right time. But what I definitely want to have is community engagement in that. Meeting with farmers, meeting with citizens on a regular basis. What is going on? What are you seeing? Are you seeing traffic at night, late at night? What kind of traffic are you seeing? What are the places that
are people pulling over and parking? Are they actually moving? Or are you seeing somebody that shows up and parks at the same spot at the same time for
So what's more important to me, I'm less interested in a deputy that says I had 57 traffic stops last week. I'm more interested in a deputy that says I talked to 20 different farmers when I was out driving and saw them and pulled in and talked to them and engaged with them. Like, that's more important. I'm not saying traffic stops are bad, but I want to see more engagement. What are you seeing out here? Is there anything I can do, or anybody we can watch for? Is there something going on when we're engaging with the citizens in that way?
Right.
And sometimes I think that's, for some, that's awkward.
But it would be like you're basically going to do the groundwork to set up when you should maybe have a traffic stop, right?
Right.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah. Instead of going for the numbers, I'd rather you have one good one than 20 warnings or what. Yeah. Exactly. When you can engage with people and do that, but I think for some people that's a little bit uncomfortable. Like, they kind of got the traffic stop lingo rehearsed.
Yeah.
And so I want to encourage and push for more one-on-one communication and how do we get there, and so those are things that I think make the community better, make the community safer, and I want people to know. Can you tell me who the deputies are that work for the county right now?
Oh my gosh, Devon Sons.
That was mine.
Rick Sons.
That's my other one.
Katie Back.
Nick?
Who?
Nick?
Nick
Well,
who?
I don't know.
You're just
Guessing.
throwing names
Yeah.
out? Let me think. Hold on. Oh, God. Other lady from Fairfax, she had a daughter a little bit younger than me that I worked at Pizza Hut with. Her last name was like Stanford. Her mom, do you know who I'm talking about? Is she still there, or did she leave?
Yeah, she hasn't been there for like 10 years.
Yeah.
Sweet.
So she's been gone a long time.
I'm just thinking through, like, how well I know who's currently there. Like, I know over the years different people that have been there, but those are the only 3 that I can name.
You were right. Nick Shabam.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I knew he just went there.
And then Adam Stanton from Tarkio.
I did not realize he was Atchison County.
He went from the city to the
Gotcha.
county.
For some reason, I thought he went to Holt.
No.
That makes sense.
Those are our full-time deputies. We have part-time Chris Millsap,
Okay.
He was a Turkey graduate. He went to work for KCPD. But my point is, I think the community is better when they know who people are.
Yeah.
And so, how do we do that? In community engagement, being, so more involved in the different things that happen. And so it may seem small, but, under my watch, there'll be a sheriff's office booth at Friendship Day or whatever, old-fashioned Saturday night.
Yep.
More involvement in the Fairfax Fair, and I want it in a positive light. One of the things that happened in Ferguson that I didn't know, because I've never been to a parade in Ferguson, but Clarence was telling me, they'd go to a parade and the police department would be involved in the parade, but they'd be driving like a SWAT tank in the parade.
Yeah. Right.
So it's like showing force versus showing compassion and showing love in the community. And I'm not trying to sound like a hippie, but
right.
You want your community to feel like you're part of it and you're with them. That you're not.
If you're in an event like you're discussing, as opposed to showboating what you've got, you'd be better off just sitting down and waiting for people to come by and chat with you.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And so those are the kinds of things that I want. I don't want
in an environment where they know you're not looking to bust anybody.
Yeah. And when you have those, then when something does happen, there's trust there.
Right.
I did this an example with a group of college kids when I was over there. I showed them a picture of somebody, like swatted up, ready to go. What do you think of that picture? It's kind of scary. I said, okay, that's a scary looking picture. And so then I showed them a couple other just more traditional uniforms, and they're like, yeah, that looks less intimidating. I said, okay. I showed them a picture of me dressed in the exact same way, and I said, what do you see here? And they go, well, that's you. It like completely changed their perception because they had a relationship there already. They saw more than just what
they look more at your face than they do your body.
Yeah.
Whenever it's somebody they don't know that's all duded out, they're automatically looking at everything but the person.
Yes, and I just think that makes a difference. And so those are some things that I think that I will push and want to be involved, or want all the people to be involved in. I don't want somebody that has been in this community forever to not go, I don't know who the deputies are. I don't have a clue who they are.
Yep.
And I think that used to be a good thing. People think, oh, wow, if I don't know who they are, it means I'm not in trouble. Well, but I think that's had negative impacts in the last 20, not even 10, 15 years, as far as Ferguson and all that, we need to be better at being community members.
Yep. And then I better know who to call so I can skip the 911 process. Whenever I just want to know how to not get myself in trouble. Do you three kind of, well, I don't want to even put a number on it. The biggest issues you see facing our county right now that I think is regularly taking up, what is it? Is it crime? Is it drugs? Is it mental health? It's probably everything that I'm naming, but kind of just the three main things that takes up deputies' time that you're dealing with regularly.
Theft. We take a lot of theft calls, and it's tough because we can't be everywhere. I'd love to be, we can't be everywhere. And so you got to do a good job of policing yourself to a degree as far as, and so, I can't tell you how many times somebody will say, hey, this was stolen. Okay, do you got a serial number for that? No.
Nope. How am I going to find it?
We can enter it stolen with a serial number, and then when it goes to a pawn shop or goes somewhere else and they check it, it's flagged. But so those kinds of things. But theft is a big one, and farmers, love them.
Yeah.
When was that stolen? Well, I put it away.
Right. Yeah, and it's sat
in November, and now here we are in April. I haven't used it since then. It's like, okay, well, so sometime between now and Those things are
That
tough.
thing's halfway to Guatemala by now.
Right.
It's been stripped for parts.
But that's a big one. And so wanting to communicate. Again, I can't tell you we're going to stop it, but how do we communicate with them? And what are you seeing? Tell me the kind of vehicles you're seeing. What kind of plates are you seeing? If you're on this end of the county, you're seeing Iowa plates. Okay, so now we need to know. We need to communicate with Page and Fremont County. We're seeing this kind of vehicle with this kind of plates roaming around gravel roads in northwest Missouri. Who is it? What do they? And they may say. And we've worked closely with Page County and Fremont County on a theft case that happened here, and he was from up there, and we found one of the trucks that he had stolen, and but we have to know that,
right?
And we can't be everywhere, and so it's going to be about good communication with that. But so thefts would be a big one. I don't want to bury any more children from a drug overdose.
Understood. Yep.
And so education is a big deal in that area, and my dad did the DARE program. I want to say his first one, he may have been doing that program for 25 years or more.
Definitely since my class, but before that, even if I remember right,
Yeah, I'm sure you had him.
Yeah.
I didn't when I was in 6th grade.
Gotcha.
But I think he started 2 years after that. I think Shelby was his first year teaching that age group. But I think there's more, and so I've been working and talking with Lance Lansdowne, and he's been the last 2 years has spoken at the DARE graduation, and he's very good and comfortable with sharing. And he's with me. He doesn't want to bury any more kids, and so I want to do more. As far as I just don't want it to be DARE and then they're done. But you remember like the DARE graduation you went to?
Yeah, sort of.
So the tradition that DARE set up and the way they put the kids in the middle of the room, and the community's in the bleachers, the teachers are on one side, and I want that. But I don't want it to just be for that 6th grade DARE class, and it's not supposed to be, but that kind of becomes the way it is, and so I want to continue programs, whether it's it's hard. Schools are busy. They are way busier than they were when we were in school.
Yeah,
I mean, and I don't know. I think you may have had more of the not the online, but the college credit classes than when I was graduating from Fairfax in 2005. We had like one.
Yeah.
We had none. We could do dual credit, but it was still all classroomed.
Yeah.
Yep.
So they had just these kids are taking a lot of classes, and so it's hard. So it may not be a full 10-week DARE thing, but if it means, once a year we're gonna get somebody in here to speak, we're gonna do these things. I've been working, and it's been tough lately because I've been so busy, but with the mentoring program, Joanna Burke had started a mentoring program, and we're talking to some kids after school, and I want more of that, and I want more of my people as far as law enforcement involved in that. It may not be me next year. I want somebody else to do it and be involved in that. That's, the drug problem that we have. If you think about the war on drugs is the longest war. I mean, you thought Afghanistan was long. It was been 40 years. We've declared war on drugs and made no headway.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's mostly reactionary.
Yeah.
Yep.
You go chase down a drug dealer and you arrest him. Somebody takes his place tomorrow.
Right.
And so it's really, and I think it's really about decision making and teaching them to make good decisions. And that's one thing that Lance hit at their graduation. And so if I can facilitate and arrange him speaking to every kid in this county, I'm going to do it. Because he said, one stupid decision cost my son. He said that to those kids, and I thought, wow. And we talked about that, but hearing him say it out loud like that, and then seeing the kids' faces, that's what we have to have. Yeah. Because the drugs are coming from across the border. I have no control if I'm the county sheriff. I have no control about what's going on down there because they don't have control about what's going on down there.
Right.
So we're going to do our best to arrest them when they get here, but to really stop the problem, we have to educate and get these kids to stop the want for drugs, to want for that something else, versus, I mean, you know, we can do the same cycle all day, kicking in doors and dragging people to jail. They're back out on the street within a month. And again, I'm not saying we're not going to do that. If somebody needs to go to jail, they're going to go to jail. But I'm not resting on that being the solution.
Right. Yeah.
That's the Band-Aid. We've got to get to those kids so that they can see something better. And it's not he's just one person that I've talked to about that, but I want addicts and other people that have been there and have now changed. We have got to get, so education will be a huge part of that, I think. And so but the theft, the drugs, and again, kind of part of the drugs, but the substance abuse and mental health would be another huge area that we are struggling in. And again, we talked about the interstate. We've had a lot of mental health calls out there at the interstate, people coming in, and so sometimes the problems that come into this county are not our problems.
Right.
But
once they're in your county,
this is where they land.
Yeah.
This is where they land, and so that's a big thing. I don't know that people always think about that, and I don't think people understand how much craziness drives up and down that interstate on a daily basis.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like anything. You just get pretty numb to it.
Yeah.
You just know it's there, it exists. You get on it when you need to use it. When you're off of it, you don't even think about it.
Yeah.
I mean, yep.
And I remember there was a situation a couple years ago, and we got a call from the U.S. Marshals that this fugitive, he was wanted, and he had taken his kids from North Carolina or something like that.
Yeah.
With his boys.
And made it that far.
He was at the Super 8 in Rockport.
Yep.
Of all the, and we got the boys back, and he went to jail, and and I'm sitting in my office with these boys eating donuts and drinking chocolate milk.
Yeah.
Like, of all the things, of all the places they could have stopped. But I also knew in that moment, I don't know what had gone on in that guy's life that led him to that moment. But I knew those boys had just gotten taken from their dad by a cop.
Right. And he'd already been taken from their home. They'd already been taken from their home shortly before that.
And so I felt an extreme amount of responsibility for those boys to give them one positive memory. With these
That's
cops.
important.
Yeah, like with a cop, because I don't know where they're going. They were young.
Or what they've been exposed to.
I don't know what they've been exposed to, and I don't know where they're going. But man, I sure hope that if they're 15 or 16 and they have a run-in with a cop, they remember me.
Yep.
And it keeps them from doing something dumb.
Yes, or pushes them in the direction to say something about something dumb. Yep.
Yeah, like they and that may be, I don't know if that's arrogant to say it that way, but that's what I thought about the whole time I was with them was I want them to remember me.
Yep.
And that I was something, they had a positive experience. And so, we went and got donuts and we were eating chocolate milk and we went down to the park and played basketball until they could, because the DFS was trying to figure out housing, and that's a process that I don't understand. I feel like I could simplify it, but it's not my, maybe I couldn't, but I sure feel like I could when I watch it. Yep. So we're we're playing basketball, and it was just one of those things, but I just that was on my mind. I hope that 10 years from now, 5 years from now, if they have a run-in with a cop that could go badly, that they remember this interaction.
Just having that intention speaks a lot about your character, I'd say.
Well, I appreciate that. I just want that, and that's who we should be. That's who we're called to be as law enforcement, not to.
To serve and protect, not bust and
collect. Right. People should not be afraid of you, and they shouldn't. I don't want somebody to go, "Well, he thinks he knows everything," or he's a. I don't. I think this journey, if I'm elected, I don't want to be the guy that has the answers, all of them.
Mm-hmm.
I won't have a plan, but policing and serving the community is done within the community.
Mm-hmm.
And so we've got to work together, and so I don't want to be the ultimate authority on that, and I don't want to be seen as arrogant or anything like that, but we want to work together, and I want those kids to look at the cops in a much more positive way. Yeah. And I'll tell you, there's been a family or two that do not want their kids thinking about that.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to a house one time that I was suspicious that they would even answer.
Mm-hmm.
Because they were going to jail, but I didn't have a warrant to go in the house. But I knew somebody was in there. The kids saw me and answered the door.
Yeah. Because it's like, oh hey. Yeah.
But so his family didn't want that, but it worked in that sense. You know,
I see what the last 2 hours have been about.
Yeah. But I want kids to feel safe and to be a community where they feel like they can have somebody to go to. And I think that will help mental health as well as drugs. I think the drug and mental health problem kind of parallel each other, and they work hand in hand, and we can operate in the same way. So we need to arrest the people that need to go to jail. We need to help the people that need help.
Yeah, sure.
And that is a bigger thing, and it's not always easy.
Yep.
And there's some people that we try to put certain things up for them, and they don't work, and we keep trying, and they haven't necessarily committed we can't put them in jail.
Mm-hmm.
We're trying to provide them the help that they need, and it's not working, but we're going to keep doing it for sure. Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
This has been awesome.
Yep, this has been really good. Is there anything else? So, Kiefer, do you have anything else you want?
I don't think so. I think we went over quite a bit.
Yeah. Is there anything else you want to put out there, Devon? I mean, time is yours, really.
Well, I just want to say, I'm invested in this community, and my family's here. This is where I want my boys to grow up. I have 2 boys.
Mm-hmm.
One's 4, and one was just born back in September. So this is where I want my family to grow up. This is where I grew up, and I know that there's great people here, and so if the things that I've talked about and policing in the community the way I've talked about it is something that's important to you, then I would encourage you to go out and vote. Yep. August 6th.
Yeah, we're constantly trying to do the same thing, just remind people, like, vote. Yeah. Because the percents are always low,
Yes. Yeah. And there's very few, federal government is funny, because the average person has very little contact with the federal government. Mm-hmm. Right. Maybe they know somebody in the military, and every April they have to pay their taxes. Yep. Like, that's their contact. Yep. Maybe the post office. Right. So most of the stuff that goes on, we don't really, we don't know about. But there's a lot of stuff that goes on in your small town. And we just had this conversation in Rockport where somebody was complaining about something. I'm like, well, when's the last time you were at a city council meeting? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like, you don't.
No, and like what people don't get is like that is what causes the process to fail. Yeah. The process is designed for everybody to be involved, and if not everybody's involved, then it's very easy to manipulate that process. Yeah. If everybody shows up and does what the process calls for, then the process works the way it's supposed to. If 40% of the people show up, then that 40% is going to control the process.
And if you are a part of your community, you asked earlier when I was talking about all the hard stuff that comes with being a sheriff. Mm-hmm. If you are not willing to take a little bit of the headache that comes with public service, then shut up. Because, like, there's a lot that goes on, but no, and I mean, I don't really mean shut up, but I mean, like, step up and take a turn. Yeah. Everybody in town should maybe take a turn on the city council. And give that a
change a lot.
Because if you don't, and
or Parks Board, or start somewhere.
Parks Board, something like that. There's a lot of people that I always say you'd be a real asset in that, and they're like, I don't need that headache, and it's like, well, somebody's got to have that headache. It might as well be good people with good intentions for the community, and again, you don't have to have all the answers, but just going in and I think with a passion, but if not, at least go be involved and vote. And again, the sheriff, I think, is an incredibly important office that, again, you
really get to say
you get a say in how law enforcement happens in your county. And that's something that people don't think about. They don't get. That's a blessing that we have, that you have a say in how your community is policed, the way it's policed, the character in which it's policed in, and you get to vote there. So go do it.
Yeah. Excellent. Well said. We sure appreciate the time, Devon. Honestly, we probably at some point after the election, everybody we've talked to is just like, God, we just need to get you back on here just to talk.
Yeah.
So
it's funny, you watch like a Rogan podcast and they're like 3 hours long, and you're like, man, that's a long time. Now that you're doing
so
it, it's
fast.
like it's really not.
Yeah.
Feel like it's been almost 2 hours. It doesn't feel like it.
Yep.
The headphones really help. They make you like really invested in
Yes.
what everybody's
going
saying.
on.
Yeah.
That's
Awesome. Go vote.
Thanks a bunch.
Thank you.
Oh, that was fantastic.
Yes.
I don't, not one of them, I mean, and I'll just be upfront with you, not one of them has been bad. It's actually,
No.
the